News Central now at this hour begins in Nigeria's capital, Abuja, where President Bola Tinubu ordered the rescheduling of the Federal Executive Council meeting following the demise of the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja. The president noted that a new date for the meeting will be announced later. The FEC meeting was initially scheduled for Wednesday, but had to be postponed in honor of late Lagbaja, who passed away on Tuesday night. General Lagbaja served as the Chief of Army Staff from June 19, 2023 to his death on November 5, 2024. Bayo Onuga, Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, in a statement said President Tinubu has also ordered flags to be flown at half-mast nationwide for 7 days in honor of the departed general. Relatedly, the Minister of Defense, Abubakar Badaru, and his counterpart, Bello Matawale, have condoled with President Bola Tinubu over the demise of Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja, who passed away on Tuesday night. Describing the death of the COAS, Lagbaja, as tragic, the minister narrated the demise of the Chief of Army Staff as a great loss to the nation. Also, the Minister of State for Defense, Bello Matawale, lauded the COAS's service to the nation. Similarly, the Acting Chief of Army Staff, Olufemi Oluyede, Lieutenant General, expressed regret following the death of the Chief of Army Staff, Taoreed Lagbaja.
Gallant officer, very, very hardworking. He was indeed a warrior. He has served in so many theaters and have done commendably well. It's a very sad loss for the country. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to receive him and to bless him.
Thank you. We enjoy working with him because, as the Honorable Minister said, he's a gallant officer and it's a great loss to this nation. And all we can say is to God to bless the family, and we assure Nigerians that we'll continue praying for the demise of Lagbaja, and we sending our condolences to the family of the deceased and Mr. President, because it's a great loss to this nation.
So it's on a very somber note that I'm talking this moment, because the entire Nigerian army is actually in a very sorrowful mood, having lost our leader, Lieutenant General T.A. Lagbaja. This was someone that gave his all to Nigeria. He was a selfless leader, very passionate about Nigeria, and he led the Nigerian army very well. He was courageous. He was known to be thorough and a professional to the core. So it's a big loss to us. And all we could say at this moment is that we pray that the good Lord will find a good place for him to rest. Then I want to enjoin Nigerians. For someone that I've given all to his all to Nigeria, we need to celebrate him. So in that, I think I want Nigerians to actually celebrate him for the good job he did while alive.
Now, News Central's Bernard Akede gives us a brief history about the life and times of the late general.
Born 28 February 1968, Lieutenant General Taoreed Abiodun Lagbaja was the Chief of Army Staff of Nigeria. He was appointed on 19 June 2023 by President Bola Tinubu to succeed Lieutenant General Farouk Yahaya. Lagbaja, who hailed from Osun State, was admitted into the Nigerian Defense Academy in the year 1987 as a member of the 39th Regular Course. He was commissioned as a second lieutenant on 19 September 1992 into the Nigerian Infantry Corps. Between 1992 and 1995, Lagbaja was platoon commander of the 93 Battalion. From 1995 to 2001, he was platoon commander of 72 Special Forces Battalion. In 2001, Lagbaja obtained the bachelor's degree in geography from the Nigerian Defense Academy. He studied strategic studies at the U.S. Army War College at the master's level. In 2009, he became Deputy Chief of Staff G1 at Headquarters 81 Division, and subsequently he became Commanding Officer at 72 Special Forces Battalion, Makurdi, from 2012 to 2013 and from 2014 to 2015. In 2016, Lagbaja was named the Chief of Staff at Headquarters 8 Task Force Division, Mongunu. He served as Director of Operations at the Army Headquarters Department of Army Training and Operations from January to December 2018. He was a commander of Headquarters 9 Brigade in Ikeja, Lagos, and Headquarters 2 Brigade, Uyo, Akwa Ibom States. Before his new appointment, Lagbaja was General Officer commanding Headquarters 82 Division from March 2021 to August 2022 and Headquarters 1 Division from August 2022 to June 2023. Earlier in 2008, he attended the Military Observers Course on Peacekeeping Wing at the Nigerian Army School of Infantry, Jaji, and ECOWAS Standby Force Battalion Command Post Course, Peacekeeping Center, Bamako, Mali. Before his unfortunate passing, Lieutenant General Lagbaja participated in several key operations, including Operation Harmony 4 in Bakassi Peninsula, United Nations Mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo, Operations Zaki, Internal Security Operations in Benue State, Operation Lafia Dole, Operation Mesa, Operation Udoka, Internal Security Operations in Southeast Nigeria, and Operation Forest Sanity, Internal Security Operations in Kaduna and Niger States, amongst others. Lagbaja was married to Maria Abiodun Lagbaja, and the marriage was blessed with 2 children. In Lagos for News Central, I'm Bernard Akidi.
Let's now tell you that the federal government has finalized plans to build 7 dams in the 6 southwestern states for irrigation and to improve food production. Dr. Adedeji Ashiru, the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the Ogun River Basin Development Authority, revealed this on Wednesday. In order to increase the nation's electricity supply, Ashiru also disclosed that efforts are in progress to concession the Onyo Dam's hydropower generating portion. He said that the dam, which was built in 1979 and has 3 turbines installed, can produce 9 megawatts of power. Speaking during the 46th Annual Conference and Annual General Meeting of the Association for Consulting Engineering in Nigeria, he said that dams play a major role in addressing ecological problems such as flooding. Let's go outside of Nigeria for a bit to a story of global importance. Bitcoin hit a record high on Wednesday, jumping 8% to surpass $75,000 as investors bet on a Trump victory benefiting cryptocurrencies. Ether surged 8%, while Dogecoin soared 18%, boosted by support from Elon Musk. Crypto stocks also rallied, talking about Coinbase, which jumped 17%, Robinhood 12%, and MicroStrategy 10%. Trump, once a crypto skeptic, pledged to make the U.S. the crypto capital of the planet, launch a Bitcoin strategic reserve, and recently launched World Liberty Financial to trade crypto. His campaign drew crypto support, and experts say traders are now eyeing a potential $100,000 target for Bitcoin. While excitement builds, some experts warn investors of crypto's risks, urging caution amid hopes for relaxed regulation under Trump's administration. To discuss this, we are joined by Silas Umekwe, author, Crypto Investors Playbook, and an online business consultant. Thank you so much, Silas, for joining us on the news. Can you please unmute your device?
Oh, thank you very much. It's
okay,
my pleasure.
Yeah, we can hear you now. So how do you see a potential Trump administration impacting cryptocurrency regulations, aside what he has said in terms of pledges, and what could actually light the torch in terms of regulation when we look at its practice?
Okay, so basically, Donald Trump has been one person that has always championed the cryptocurrency move, right? And one of the things I see, or one of the so many things I see him doing, is bringing flexible guidelines. Of course, we already know that there's Bitcoin ETF approved in the United States and all of that, but we still there are still a lot of restrictions for people in the United States as regards investing in cryptocurrency. So one of the things I see him doing is bringing flexible guidelines, to help and transparent rules, that can help exchanges, blockchain companies, and and bring them to par, with traditional banks. And some of the other things we also expect to see will be crypto-friendly tax policies that are crypto-friendly, because presently the tax policy in the United States is something else. So these and many more are some of the reasons why I think, he will be bringing some very good regulations into the system.
And I guess that's what is actually fueling the excitement that we're seeing in the cryptoverse. Looking at the response of the players now. But then, given the surge in Bitcoin rather, and other cryptocurrencies following Trump's victory now, do you think it will be sustainable? You mentioned a couple of things that you're hoping that Trump will bring on board by the time his administration commences. But then will he be able to sustain those those things that you actually projected?
Okay, the thing is, Trump's victory coincided with, the usual Bitcoin bull run, as has been said, and this is a phenomenon that we have seen. We have noticed that within every 4 years, there's usually a market cycle that happens every 4 years in the crypto space that sees Bitcoin hit a new all-time high 4 years after the previous all-time high. So we are expecting that this would have happened, but it coincided with the victory of Trump. And one of the reasons why I think the victory is going to, bring about this is because before now, I mean, if you've been following the financial system, Warren Buffett, one of the biggest investors, had sold some of his holdings, and when Warren Buffett starts selling some of his holdings in stocks, it means that he is anticipating a global recession. And that means people are going to be looking for where to hedge their finance or where to hedge their money against inflation. So one of the so many reasons why this is also going to rally Bitcoin is because people are going to be moving into Bitcoin as, as digital gold in order to hedge against inflation. Another thing that is going to spark up retail investors' interest. Right, a lot of people now, because they've seen Donald Trump post a lot about cryptocurrency, retail investors, that's you and me, are going to try to jump on the bandwagon, right, to see how we can take advantage of this, especially in times of economic uncertainties and political shift, of course, because we saw massive movements in the market yesterday. And also a lot of people are going to jump into crypto because they anticipate favorable regulations, because we have seen over time that this man speaks for crypto. So these are some of the reasons why I think it's going to get to where some of the investors, where analysts are talking about. As a matter of fact, I predicted this way long before now.
But then, because we know how volatile, the crypto world could be, where we talk about fluctuations, people could be earning today and investors could be losing funds tomorrow. So even while they're hoping to hedge their funds, looking at the possibility of a global recession, do you think that is even a quality backing if we have some shocks within the global financial space?
Yes, I actually think quality. I actually think yes, it's a quality backing, because if let's look at the feasibility, right? Bitcoin has been referred to several times by so many professionals as digital gold, and one of the things that has kept gold, gold is also rallying at the same time together with Bitcoin, because over the past few days, gold has been hitting all-time high as well. So one thing that has kept gold is because people see it as a store of value, right? So the feasibility of it is that, yes, the US government can actually decide to set up a Bitcoin reserve, just as the president has said he was going to do. So it's actually very feasible, right? And it's going to impact the market. Why did I say it's going to impact the market? Because if governments start getting into cryptocurrency, it is going to give it significant, it's going to give, it's going to give investors confidence in going in. And this confidence will bring about the increase in price. And also, it will encourage other nations to consider having similar reserves. And this would further, stamp the Bitcoin status as digital gold, right? And again, we are going to see a Bitcoin reserve would actually bring a shift in how national assets are defined, and it will impact global financial stability worldwide, right? So I really think that it's an idea that would go so well with us.
All right, Silas Umekwe, thank you so much for sharing your ideas with us.
You're welcome.
On the news, we go on a short break. When we return, Power Minister receives report on grid failures, assures federal government will tackle the problems. Stay with us, we'll be back in a bit. Many thanks for staying with us. Now, as part of our efforts to ease the tension and controversy surrounding the arraignment of over 100 protesters, many of them classified as minors, Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima has handed over the detainees to their state governors. Our correspondent, Edong Joseph, has more in this report. Well, we will bring you details of that particular report in our subsequent bulletins, or maybe during the course of this news. But then let's move on. Nigeria's Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, has expressed the commitment of the federal government to revamp the nation's entire transmission grid network. The minister, while receiving the report from the investigative panel set up to unravel the causes of the grid failures and proffer solutions to the problems, expressed optimism that the federal government can correct the problems identified by the panel.
I know that the facilities have suffered poor maintenance in the past, but it is not a situation that is not insurmountable. We can correct it, we can reverse it, if we all believe in this. It touches on our operations and maintenance culture. And the federal government has taken major steps in ensuring that the entire transmission network is revamped through the various projects that have been put into place. We are aware of the PPI, the Presidential Power Initiatives. We are aware of a lot of transmission expansion projects sponsored by World Bank, sponsored by AFDB, being implemented by TCA.
In a related development, the federal government has revealed that poor maintenance culture, inadequate and aged equipment, among other challenges, are the underlying reasons for the incessant multiple collapses of the national power grid witnessed in recent months. It also stated that the high voltage of electricity surpassing the capacity of its equipment caused the blackout witnessed on October 14 and 19, 2024. The chairman of the investigative committee probing reasons for grid collapse, Nafisatu Asabiali, revealed this during the report presentation at the ministry's headquarters on Wednesday in Abuja. This came barely 24 hours after the latest collapse that occurred on Tuesday, making it the 10th time the national grid would collapse in 2024 alone. According to her, the investigative team observed similar challenges and problems affecting all stations during its probe. Earlier on, we told you that as part of efforts to ease the tension and controversy surrounding the arraignment of over 100 protesters, many of them who have been tagged as minors, Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima handed over the detainees to their state governors. Now, Edong Joseph tells us more in this report.
Most of the protesters, many of whom are under 18, were linked to the End Bad Governance protest. They initially appeared before the Federal High Court in Abuja on charges bordering on treasonable felony and incitement, amongst others. Some of the protesters collapsed in court as images surfaced on the internet showing them looking hungry and malnourished after spending approximately 3 months in custody. These situations sparked widespread controversy and public outrage, leading to President Bola Tinubu to direct that all charges against them be dropped. At the presidential villa, Vice President Kashim Shettima welcomed the freed individuals and advised them not to allow themselves to be used to commit any form of crime.
Over 300 billion naira was lost in the protest, consisting mainly private property through looting and loss of business. I will urge you, I will advise you, you are our children, to use the opportunity of the President's magnanimous gesture in ensuring that you go back home and become responsible citizens.
He also urged the representatives from Kaduna and Kano states who were present to stand united against political or religious divides as they help reintegrate the individuals back into society.
I will urge our governors and our elected representatives here that cut across political divides. What binds us together as citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria surpasses whatever that divides us.
The governor of Kano State, Abba Yusuf, who spoke on behalf of the delegation, acknowledged the young protesters' lack of awareness and commended the government for granting them pardon. He also promised to ensure that such incidents do not occur again in both Kano and Kaduna states.
But what you did is treasonable, felony, punishable under the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Alhamdulillah, through this persistent appeal, through the compassionate demonstration by the President, you are now free. Your Excellency, extend our appreciation to Mr. President.
As over 100 of the freed individuals return home, their representatives have assured that they will facilitate their reintegration and enrollment back to schools. In Abuja for News Central, I am Idong Joseph.
Away from that, and talking investments now, Nigerian entrepreneurs in Abuja at the Nigeria Diaspora Investment Summit have pitched their ideas to potential investors to attract foreign funding. This was on the second day of the Nigerians in Diaspora Investment Summit, where entrepreneurs sought to secure the funding needed to scale up and bring their visions to life. News Central's business correspondent Perpetua Fasumi Peter was there and filed in this report.
It's day 2 of the 7th Nigeria Diaspora Investment Summit happening at the banquet hall of the Presidential Villa, Abuja. But I must say that the proceedings of today has been taken over by pitchers and investors.
We are here to raise 100 million in ethical investment structure.
I know by now you may be wondering who a pitcher is. A pitcher is a person or an entity that needs funding for their business. Meanwhile, an investor is a person or entity who is interested in putting money in a pitcher's business. And of course, we have a third category, who is the exhibitor. Now, this exhibitor can be a diasporan who runs a business here in Nigeria and has come to showcase what he or she has to offer. Well, come with me, let's listen to them.
I'm very optimistic that the Nigerians in diaspora want a better life for people in the rural areas, who are especially farmers. So I'm very optimistic, very, very optimistic that their funding will come and then we'll be able to put it to good use. That is their money doing good work. Yeah.
But what exactly are investors looking for?
It's one thing to ask, it's another thing to be ready. So what we're seeing here is that a lot of people are hungry for investments, but not everyone understands how to be investment ready. Anyone can say, give me 10 billion for what? What kind of team have you got? Do you have the right business model? Do you understand your marketplace? These are core venture questions that some people are hitting on the head and some are not. So there's an evolution. People are growing, they're learning.
I still have people that I'm related to in this country. We've just decided to become the change, you know, rather than complaining and saying the government should do this, the senators should do this, the policy analysts should do this. We've decided to ask ourselves and take on the challenge and the responsibility to becoming the change that we want to see. So that's why we're here, basically.
And while connecting businesses and investors is a crucial component of the pitch sessions, the summit aims to achieve broader objectives.
$20 billion remittance last year, about $19 billion in the last 5 years. It's not a joke. So beyond remittances, we're saying let's engage them for investments. And that's what we're doing. Ours is how do we engage and harness the enormous talents that we have in the diaspora. And for them, it's not charity, but it is home.
If there is anything you have discovered that you consider as impediments towards their coming to invest in Nigeria, and you think legislation will help to solve the problem, you can articulate them, send to the Madam Diaspora, Right Honorable Abike Dabrielewa, he can pass it to us. Then we will address it through our legislative processes.
The sessions have been quite engaging, and it is my hope that everyone gets what they desire, as this will translate to more jobs, more monies in people's purses, and of course prosperity for the nation. From Abuja, for News Central, I am Perpetua Fasole Peter.
Away from that, Nigeria's federal government has assured aviation stakeholders that it will tackle controversies and challenges affecting aviation insurance in the country. This was as officials of the Ministry of Aviation, some lawmakers from Parliament, and the management of the National Insurance Commission met with stakeholders in the nation's capital, Abuja. News Central's Emmanuel Bagudu reports.
It will be recalled that Nigerian airline operators have on several occasions complained of double insurance premium placed on airlines as they are mandated to insure their airlines by local and international insurance companies. This prompted a directive by Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima to the leadership of the Ministry of Aviation to address the issue holistically. The Aviation Ministry officials for the first time have met with stakeholders on the issue in a bid to find lasting solutions.
What best global practices are around aviation insurance all over globally, what drives it, the concept that drives it, and how aviation insurance has survived over the ages. The local content provision in the Nigerian law is to protect the Nigerian economy, right? And that even surpassed the local content law of 2010.
After hours of deliberation, the Minister of Aviation addressed the press on the burning issue.
We're very grateful the leadership of the National Assembly on insurance. They are here and they actually provided useful support and guidance to all of us regarding how they are also thinking. The airline operators of Nigeria, they spoke their minds. The Nigerian Insurance Association, they spoke their minds. And I think we are beginning to understand ourselves. We have reached a resolution that there is need for further engagement on this issue. We also have reached a decision that there is need for the Nigerian Insurance Association to further engage international leaders and financiers to understand their position and their capacity, the capacity they have. It's part of the rebranding of the Nigerian image to the world. And every sector in Nigeria has a duty to rebrand and let the world understand how we are and what we are capable of. That came out of this meeting today, and they will be traveling to us with us to Dublin to meet the international financiers who have invited us in January. The distinguished members of the National Assembly, both aviation and insurance, will be there with us.
This move is expected to ease complexity in air transportation as well as make the aviation business more profitable. In Abuja for News Central, I am Emmanuel Bagudu.
Still in the center, the governor of Plateau State, Caleb Mutfwang, has called for the establishment of harmonized guidelines and standards to ensure value for money, efficiency, and adherence to the fundamental requirements necessary for meeting best practices in construction works. The governor, represented by his deputy, Josephine Pio, was speaking at the opening ceremony of a 4-day event organized by the Strategic Result Delivery Office in Plateau State. News Central's correspondent Chizoba Yowe tells us more.
Substandard structures will no longer be accommodated in Plateau State for the safety of lives, among others. This was the conclusion of professionals in the construction sector at a 4-day event organized by the Strategic Result Delivery Office, Plateau State. The event was organized under the Office of the Governor in collaboration with the key ministries, departments, and agencies within the built environment sector of the state.
I anticipate that by the end of this engagement, a set of harmonized guidelines and standards will be established to ensure value for money, efficiency, and adherence to the fundamental requirements necessary for meeting best practices.
The need to put measures in place to ensure the attainment of standardization and efficiency was also reiterated.
Every project has an outcome. You want a particular outcome to come for your project that you have begun to do. So if you practice according to international best practices, you are going to get optimal outcomes. 2, you will get an increase in efficiency. 3, during that process, you will develop a process that is structured.
Engaging surveyors in the construction appropriately help immensely in reducing such wastage. If that is not done, there's every possibility for a contractor to compromise. And if he compromise, government loses money.
This training should be able to tell every professional what you are expected to do, where your boundary stops, and where you interface with other professionals, notwithstanding how intelligent you are, notwithstanding how broad your knowledge is. So I believe this should set the boundaries so that we can have safer environment going forward.
As the professionals in attendance at this event rise from this engagement, their ability to deliver on the resolutions reached here will definitely be a positive for the construction industry in Plateau State and indeed the entire country. In Jos for News Central, Chizoba Anyuwi.
The news continues in West Africa, where Senegalese Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko led campaigns for his Pastef party in the northeastern town of Matam on Tuesday, November 5, ahead of the West African nations parliamentary elections on November 17. Senegalese President Bassirou Diomaye Faye appointed Ousmane Sonko, a former opposition leader and longtime rival of former President Macky Sall, as his prime minister, and they pledged radical change, social justice, and efforts to fight corruption. The pair called a snap parliamentary election for November 17 after dissolving the opposition-dominated parliament in mid-September.
Nous les jeunes, nous voulons du travail parce qu'il y a beaucoup de jeunes qui sont morts dans l'océan, dans les bateaux, pour aller faire de l'immigration. C'est pour cela que nous voulons que ça suffit. La région de Matam est la plus pauvre des régions. C'est pour cela qu'on a voulu voter PASTEF pour que ça, la région puisse changer.
Mais avec le projet, le président Ousmane Sonko, il nous a permis de voir, il nous a expliqué, on a vu que c'est ça qui est la réalité, dont on s'est basé sur ses propos et sur ses affaires. On est rentré en politique. Jusqu'à aujourd'hui, on défend le projet, on lutte pour le projet et pour essayer au moins de faire un Sénégal meilleur, équitable et juste.
En tout cas, nous voulons un Sénégal vraiment souverain, un Sénégal ancré de valeurs fortes, un Sénégal prospère.
Now, Mozambique's capital was tense on the eve of a freedom march called by the opposition leader following weeks of protests against election results that have left at least 18 people dead. Shops and banks in central Maputo closed early and the streets were emptier than usual, while police and military vehicles were stationed at various points. About 1,000 people demonstrated in the afternoon in the city's Patrice Lumumba neighborhood in support of Thursday's march called by the opposition leader, Venancio Mondlane. The Southern African country has been locked in a political crisis since the election authority announced that the Frelimo party, in power since 1975, won the October 9 ballot with just over 70%. Now, as the Africa Energy Week enters day 2 in Cape Town, South Africa, delegates from across the continent and beyond continue to engage in crucial discussions on Africa's sustainable energy future. They're also highlighting the urgency of addressing energy poverty and accelerating the energy transition in Africa, with panel discussions exploring the responsive strategies Africa can adopt to bolster its energy security and position itself as a leader in renewable energy. And right now, standing by to talk to us more about this is Bongani Siziba, who has been covering the Africa Energy Week, and she'll be giving us updates as regards what discussions have been looking at the summits. Bongani, good morning to you. Let's have the update as regards the Africa Energy Week that we've seen play out so far in the last 2 days.
Intensive discussions that are happening here. We have seen, like now, they just ended this panel discussions, women in the energy sector, just having that conversation on what women are doing in the energy sector. But also the discussions that have been here about the challenges that the energy sector face, especially in Africa. We have the Minister of Nigeria who also spoke about the poverty in energy sector, and also the message that he's going to take to COP29. We know that COP29 is coming. But let me just bring in a guest just to speak as a woman in the energy sector, just to speak to us about this conversation that they were just having here. Good morning, ma'am, and thank you for joining us. Just take us through the conversation that you're just having here.
Oh, it's such an incredible conversation. We're talking about the transformative impact of women in the energy sector, and just talking about the role that women can play in shaping and advancing the energy sector. A lot of our conversations was focused around leadership of women, visible leadership, and how women can role model what it means to be a woman leader in the industry. But we also spent a lot of time talking about sponsorship, how women, we can create platforms for other women to also step into the industry and not just do well, thrive, and actually rise to senior positions. We talked about the role of mentoring, so just helping somebody else to cross that hurdle, to make it quicker for them than it's been for you because you've gone ahead of the journey. But we've talked about also the importance of education, the importance of knowledge, the importance of skill and mastery in this industry, because we don't want tokens. Women are able and competent enough, intelligent enough, hardworking enough to actually also play very strongly in this sector. Each of the companies, we spent some time also talking about what our individual companies are doing, ENI, the BPs, the SLBs, the Seplat Energies, of this world, and all the initiatives that we're doing to promote women to come into the industry from the early stages of secondary school all the way to university, and then also keeping them, so pretty much creating the opportunities, attracting and retaining women to be in the industry for the long haul. We also talked about what it would mean for women in the future of this industry. Technology will play a very key role in advancing the cause of women in the industry, because now some of the roles that traditionally manual and would normally be left for men can now be done by women because of technology. So we can do remote monitoring of pipelines, of assets, reducing the need for physical presence or manual interventions. There'll be a lot of emphasis in the coming years on data literacy and data analysis, and those are spaces that women can play. So it's been a very interesting conversation, and looking forward to what the future holds for women.
Are we seeing enough women in the energy space, and if not, what are the barriers?
We can see more. We can see more. I think in Africa we have less than 25% of the energy professionals being women. The barriers would remain culture. Barriers would remain women in Africa, working in Africa would typically prioritize family life over their careers, or they would pick careers that allow them more time and more flexibility to be a wife, to be a mom, to be a nurturer, to be a home giver, and also just the perception that it's an old boys club and there's not enough spaces for them. So those are the barriers. But can we change that? Yes. If we have organizations that have inclusive policies where women can take longer time off work, where women can have things like something as basic as a creche. A woman knows that her child is in the same building. She can focus and get her work done. Things like remote working, right? COVID and technology has changed the models of work now, where we can actually have people working remotely. And so women can no longer have that as an excuse, as a barrier to entry into the industry. So we have women in the industry, but we need more women in the industry because it's been shown by statistics from the big consulting firms that organizations that are more diverse do 30% better, the bottom line. And that's what we're here for, to add value to the stakeholders.
Thank you so much. Lincoln, that was Uche and Chamber. They just taking us through the conversations that are happening here. But this is not the only conversation that is happening here. Earlier on, we had the Minister of Minerals for South Africa, who was talking about how South Africa is going to move from coal to renewable. But what he said, the key point there, that it's not easy for African countries to move away from coal. Okay. What the Western world need is pressuring African countries to move away from coal. And also they spoke about the funding, SMEs, how the SMEs are being funded, whereby you see investors coming into Africa and investing into Africa, but also taking advantage of small businesses. So the conversation here are still going on. Today is day 3. Tomorrow rather, day 4, and then we'll come back to you and tell you more about what is happening here. It's back to you now.
So much, Bongani Siziba, very robust and detailed right there coming from you. We appreciate that. Away from Africa, we tell you that President-elect Donald Trump's election victory was a decisive one, winning 5 out of 7 swing states, with Arizona and Nevada still to be counted. In Washington, D.C., international correspondent Afia Hagen asked the voters for their thoughts on the 2024 election results.
Most of the votes have been counted, and here in Washington, D.C., people are digesting the election results that sees Donald Trump elected for a second term in office.
I think that most of that credit goes to the Democratic Party, more so than it does Donald Trump, just because the Democratic Party has spent a long time trying to build this coalition of people that don't really agree, and I think that finally has come home to roost, and that minorities of all groups have looked elsewhere. And I think that the Democratic Party owes that to themselves. So hopefully, if the Democratic Party has any sense, they'll spend the next 4 years soul-searching.
I came here to celebrate with American people their new president and to see the promise of their new president.
I'm absolutely devastated. I have 4 children at home, and I'm pretty upset about the world we've just handed them.
I think a lot of people around me fought really hard for kind of the opposite of the results, and to kind of see America go this way, kind of think very individualistically, it kind of sucks.
I'm not happy about it, but I wasn't happy about both candidates and the two-party system and sort of the militarism, and like nothing is what it appears to be, that there are sort of hidden forces behind the scenes that the party elites select who runs and all of that.
I think because 2 things. One, we have to give Vice President Harris grace because she had a very limited amount of time to put her campaign together. So that's the first thing. And, you know, just the strides that she made, I don't remember what the numbers were, you know, I thought were pretty impressive with a very limited time. I think, though, that there were some missteps.
Emotions are running high, not just here in D.C., but across the country. Millions of people are celebrating what they have been told is a new golden age for the United States. But many are fearing what the next 4 years may bring for them. For News Central, I'm Afia Hagen in Washington.
And that's all on the news at this hour. We look at our top stories before we go. Condolences pour in as Nigeria mourns the death of the Chief of Army Staff, Taoreed Lagbaja. Federal government panel blames poor maintenance for multiple grid collapses. We also told you that Senegal's Prime Minister Sonko campaigns in northeastern town of Matam ahead of parliamentary polls. You can watch News Central live on DSTV, channel 422, Star Times, channel 274, Avo TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekan Onabanjo.